There it is.
Come here.
Aw.
Come here. Want to be on the camera? Come here. She's all like, what's going on? This is weird. Come on. Come on.
See, and you all think we only have cats here.
Oh, here we
If
go.
only you knew.
Just a pig, the corgi.
Aw. We got corgis, ladies and gentlemen. We're Sushi Sam when you need her. She's spamming her corgi emotes.
It's funny because I'm watching myself on delay.
I know, that's the weirdest thing, isn't it? Seeing the weird
It's
delay
like
and then
popping
hearing
up.
yourself and like, oh, wow,
Hey.
okay.
Hey, everybody.
Aw.
Office mascot.
So cute.
She's
Yeah,
like,
there's the entire chat like, oh my god.
she's like, what's going on here? Hang on, look up. Come here, it's a pig. It's a pig. Come here. It's like, what are you, hey, look at the camera.
I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I
She's
look
like-
over here? There's things
It's like,
this
what
way.
is this? This is too weird.
It's so
Yeah.
freaking cute.
And she's at the office every day. She loves the office. She goes crazy to just run around and see everybody. And yeah, and this, someone asked, is this a corgi? Yes.
Yes, indeed.
This is to Pig. She's named after a Pokemon because our kids love Pokemon. Who doesn't? So.
Oh, you're going to be happy when I actually play that soon, because I got to get my 3DS capture card and I finally play one.
Oh, cool. And what's funny is how chill she. Look at this. I mean, this is not a. I don't have her in a natural.
Yeah, she's just
position.
totally
She's just
chilled
like-
out right now.
She's like, yeah, whatever.
Aw.
Yeah, I think we had I think in Rainmaker we had a picture on our website, and I could just put her on the desk, put her paw on the mouse, and she would just hold it there, so I could take the picture. Just
Aw.
totally sitting there, like no big deal. So.
God, I wish I could post Spazz like that. I really do, because, oh, the amount of pictures I would take. You don't
Oh,
even know.
She is so calm, it's crazy. So, all
But
right,
even
Topig.
Spazz isn't that calm.
Yeah, Topig is an anti-spaz. Now, when she gets fired up, she will go crazy, running around the room and stuff like that. But yeah, but as a general rule, she's just like, I'm relaxed.
This is why I love animals, too. Like, it's just like, just being able to turn around and smile, just like, okay, that's one of the cutest things I've ever seen. That works for me.
Yep.
That's just, it brings a smile to your face. You gotta love them.
Absolutely. Especially, and I mean, it's a cliche, but those times where you're having a rough day, you're just like, oh my God. And then there's your pet, and they're like, oh, I love you. And you're like, oh, okay.
Unconditionally just walking up to you, loving you, and it's like, okay, I can't possibly be upset anymore. Like, whatever it was that had me upset, it's gone, and whatever. And just you're having fun playing with your animal. Like, that's all it takes.
Exactly.
Well, I gotta love them.
Yep.
Anyways, so if anybody's curious here, I know we're a little bit, quote unquote late getting started, but welcome to my channel. We never do things on time. But what we're doing here, this is Michael Hartman, as you can see on screen, CEO, founder of Frogdice Inc. Entertainment. Is anything like that? Is it just Frogdice?
Frogdice Inc. Technically.
It is Inc. Okay.
But we just call it Frogdice. Yeah.
I was going to say, I was pretty sure it was Inc., but I didn't want to quote that wrong. Anyways, but you guys may have known him from before. He's been on cast with us a few times and has been so kind as to let us test out quite a few games. Rainmaker most recently, which we've been playing here. Like, God, is that game freaking addictive. If you remember building up the cities and going through the... I can never think of the right way to phrase it correctly, but like almost like match 3, match 4 type of puzzles, if you will, that had all the different layouts. Like I said, incredibly addicting stuff, and just really, really cool guy. Really great games that they're making. They've got kind of something cool here, though, that they have just started up on Kickstarter that we figured that we would give a little bit of, give a little bit of attention. They're making a new game called Stash. You can see the link up on screen. We'll get another one up in chat that you can actually click on, make it a little bit easier for you. But we have him here today to actually answer some questions, and if you guys want to know anything about it, we'll get a video rolling soon, too, to let you kind of get a little bit of insight. And, yeah, if there's anything else you want to kind of introduce along with it as well, Michael,
Cool.
Feel free at any point here.
Yeah, and let me go ahead and warn people. Like when I get talking about our game, sometimes I'll go on and on because I have never been. I mean, I've been making games for over 20 years. I've never been more excited about a game than this game. I mean, I've been wanting to make this, I'd say, for 10 years. So when people ask questions, I will try to keep it pithy. So my apologies though if I just totally. Oh, and then there's this, and then there's this.
But see, that's a good sign, though, is that you're so involved with it that it's just going to keep branching off of what you've said and like, oh, and then this brings up this other point. It's like, that's how in-depth it's going to be, guys. Like, for real. Like, when I say that they make some really cool in-depth stuff, like, wait until you see what's going on here.
Yeah, and I can't wait until we have something playable that you can show. It's obviously more complicated with an online game because there's servers and then also since everything's more complicated, we build things in pieces,
Right.
Oh, we'll build this part of combat and then we'll build this. So to actually show it off would be kind of weird because it would be like,
It'd be fragmented.
So it's not really the best, but hopefully in a couple months here, we will be able to.
Excellent.
get some kind of playable thing that you can show people. So that'll be cool.
Excellent. Yeah, no, without question, I would gladly do it.
Should I go ahead and give the surprise little thing? What do you think? Or should I hold that?
I think we'll hold that for a little bit. I want to at least show them the video first so they can see kind of what's going on with everything. Get them excited for that. Then we'll drop the surprise on them because I know like you're excited. I can see it in your face and you have no idea. I'm smiling ear to ear because I know it already. You guys are going to love. We have a big surprise for you coming too. So definitely stick for that one. Like he kind of let on to it there, but we'll let you know soon.
Cool.
But yeah, do you want me to perhaps maybe even play the video and kind of get a little intro so that people know what's going on with this game, and then you can explain it further from there?
Absolutely, yeah. Right. Once they see that, hopefully questions will start just flowing from that point.
Exactly. It should be a little bit easier to understand kind of what's going on with it. Let me get this music out of here. That was perfectly timed. It's like I was trying to transition that. Creepy. Who would have thought? Crumps knows what he's doing. All right, real quick, let me play this video here. So I'm going to mute up Skype if I can figure out where that's at. Oh, crumps. The audio guy at work, folks. I'm going to mute up Skype here really quick. So Michael's going to disappear until the video's over, and I'll be right back after that.
Hi, Kickstarter. I'm Michael Hartman, president of Frogdice, an indie studio making games for 20 years. I wanted to take a moment to thank the Kickstarter community for funding and enjoying our last 2 games, which were completed and delivered on time. Now I'd like to show you our online multiplayer RPG, Stash. First thing you do is create a character. Choose a race and gender, and then use the massive customization options to get just the right look. The world map has a tabletop gaming feel. Your customizable miniature moves around the map until an encounter or a point of interest like this cave. Some dungeons are handcrafted with unique stories and lore. Combat is turn-based using a tactical grid. With tons of cool abilities and spells, no 2 battles will be the same. We also have procedurally generated dungeons that you find randomly while exploring. The maps, enemies, and bosses are random and provide infinite content variety. Is there loot? Oh yes, there is tons of loot. And every dungeon has a final boss with even more loot. In Stash, there is no loot left behind. Every character gets to own a place in the world. Your base of operations starts off as a lowly bedroll, but can be upgraded and improved over time. You could eventually have a massive castle. You can customize and decorate inside and out with an enormous variety of stuff. You can even build things that unlock crafting options or just fun things to play with. If you find or craft something cool, you can put it on the market and advertise in the paper. Stash is a multiplayer game in a persistent world. You can play solo, but it is dangerous to go alone. Take friends. You can create a clan with your allies and compete against other clans for dominance. Engage in optional solo or group PvP, and be part of the story that unfolds based on the actions of our players. There is so much more in Stash. We've barely scratched the surface. Our team is incredibly excited to make this game. Please back our campaign to help us make this amazing game and build a great community. Thank you.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So let me get Michael all unmuted here again. VLC player white. No, okay, that's not what I meant. I don't know what I'm doing. Let me get Michael unmuted here so he can actually talk to you again. There we go. And let me flip it back over. Much better. Now I can hear you again.
Cool.
So there's a little introduction. If you want to go over anything else that maybe wasn't even in there, or if you start seeing questions, by all means.
Sure. Yeah. I think the first thing that I should just say is kind of almost like the philosophy behind the game. You know, we love MMOs, we love online RPGs, and we feel like that whole genre has kind of, I don't know, it's kind of shriveled up, like not, you know, but in excitement, and in the way that people were just really felt like they were becoming part of a world, and we really want to recapture some of that magic. So we wanted to make a game that was, you know, all about fun, focus on fun, not about grinding or trying to waste your time or anything like that. And we wanted to bring a lot of the kind of old school magic of tabletop games and pen and paper games and things like that that most gamers remember doing, and then also that sense of community and feeling like you're a part of the world. So a lot of our systems, almost every system in the game, while you can probably do it solo, it's also designed where if you want to be competitive or cooperative, you can do that too. So we try to tie in social options with everything. So I think probably first thing it wasn't quite a question, but a couple of people talked about microtransactions and free-to-play and stuff like that. And that's a huge issue. Like Rock Paper Shotgun just put out an article about us, and it was a great article. Like they said lots of wonderful things about it, but they did have a paragraph saying, you know, free-to-play and blah blah blah. Well, first of all, I want to just agree with everybody that free-to-play, as it is implemented in almost every single game out there, is total crap. And
excellent.
And it borders between bad and outright despicable, the way that they treat things. Like, there's this fundamental philosophy they seem to have that is like, we need to get as much money from that customer as fast as possible because they're so afraid that they're going to quit and play something else. Whereas, like, at Frogdice, we've actually used free-to-play for 20 years. I mean, it actually might be our fault. I don't know. Like, we've been using it since 1996. So,
I wouldn't say that's a fault, honestly. I would say that's a very good thing.
Yeah, so, and our attitude has always been, if you make the game fun enough and people play long enough, eventually they'll decide to buy something. And by keeping it that way, it's like, look, we don't need to invent tricks. We don't need to have like artificially painful things so that then you have to buy your way out of annoyance.
Yep.
Because, I mean, that's why we have, well, like, for example, right now, we're in the middle of Frogicon right now. I drove home. It's our annual, like, basically a party we put on just for our players. And there's people there that have been playing our game for over 15 years. And you don't get that when somebody feels like they got screwed. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Like, you only get that kind of loyalty when people feel like, you know what, whatever I've paid has been more than worth it. So yeah, so we design the system. Obviously there are things that you can buy, and we try to make sure they have good value, but we don't design the game around that. In fact, a lot of people look at us when I meet with colleagues and they ask us about our metrics. We have metrics, but not that much. And people are like, why don't you have all this stuff? That's terrible. I'm like, because that's just not our focus. You know, our focus is making a great game, and then the money part will eventually take care of itself.
See, that's the best type of attitude to have towards it, in my opinion. Like, same thing, kind of, and it's gonna relate it to me because that's what I do. But same thing with the streaming. It's like people always worry about, well, you know, you're not getting enough viewers, blah blah blah. Like, whatever, it'll happen. Like, you know, I'm focusing on having a good time, making the community that I want, and it can grow from there. Like, I can wait. It'll be fine. I'll you know, yeah, I'd love it now, but it can wait.
Absolutely. So, okay, now that I gave that big speech, let me scroll back to everybody. You know, I want to respond to a few people. They said things. Okay, hold on a second. Will it be subscription with patches? No, it will not be subscription with patches. It's free to play. I mean, we call it pay what you want, because we think, first of all, we want to just change the philosophy. Like, we didn't design the game to be free. You know, obviously, in a way, that's almost a deceptive term. The game can't exist if it's totally free.
Right.
It is free to try, and honestly, if you play for months or years before you decide to buy anything, totally fine with us. That's happened on Threshold. We've had customers who played Threshold when they're in college, or they're in the hospital. We've had tons of people started playing Threshold because some kind of health thing happened. And so they were like laid up, and they're like, hey, what's this game? Well, obviously, a lot of times money is tight then. And so they play, and then they graduate from college, or they get better, or whatever happens, and all of a sudden things are better, and they're like, okay, cool. This game was awesome for me when things were tough, and now things aren't tough, so now I'm gonna, hook them up.
Yep. Return the favor, basically.
Exactly, and that's worked for us, and I think it'll work for us with Stash as well. So,
excellent.
Let's see. Someone else said, so no pay $99 for more loot. Nope. No pay $99 for more loot. I think we will do some things like when the game launches, there will be one really big bundle that we're going to call, right now we call it the citizenship package, but we might get a more clever name for it. And it'll basically be $20, and you'll get $30 worth of medallions. That's the virtual currency. Okay. And then a whole bunch of other things, like a little pack animal and some stuff like that. So it'll be this really awesome high value package that we'll kind of hope that most people, that'll be like their entry level thing. Like, oh, okay, I like this game, I'll buy this thing. And then also that's so we have something we can put on Steam, something we can put on Glyph, something we can put on the Humble Store. Right,
because when it's free to play, otherwise Steam kind of is probably going to look at it and push it to the back burner at that point, because they are making funding off of it.
Exactly, and we've really liked the relationship with those places because
Absolutely.
A lot of people can find us there. A lot of people just really like to update their client through Steam, and we want to be able to give people that option. So we'll probably do some bundles and stuff like that. and that'll be one way that people can buy things if they want. Like I said, none of that's required. And also, we will never do things where your advancement is halted unless you buy stuff. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm level 50, but if I want to be level 70, I got to buy this, or I got to buy access to this section of the world, or any kind of garbage like that. None of that. It's all, honestly, it's primarily cosmetic options.
Okay.
You know, like awesome stuff, costume slot stuff. That's a big one. There will be pets and mounts and stuff like that. A lot of the pets and mounts you'll still be able to get in the game, and they don't provide a gameplay benefit anyway.
Right, it's just there to actually be following you around, kind of like World of Warcraft. Well, okay, World of Warcraft pets used to be, I should say.
Right. Now, if obviously we haven't decided everything that's going to be on there, but if there is anything we sell that is actually like useful, you know, like it actually has a gameplay benefit of some kind, that will also be obtainable in the game through normal play. You know what I mean? So it'll only be like an alternative. It's not going to be the Spectral Tiger. Going back to Warcraft again, it's not going to be the Spectral Tiger mount that you can only get through the trading card game, or buying for ungodly amounts of money when somebody who was lucky enough to get it put it up for sale. So exactly.
Excellent.
And also,
Excellent.
I also don't. When I say that, I don't include the trick some people do, like, oh, it's obtainable in game if you trade with someone who bought it, and that's a little sneaky to me. You know what
I was going to say,
like,
it's legitimately, yes, it's true, but at the same point, yeah, that's underhanded, and to say the least. And yeah, I was going to say, like, I know you well enough to know that it's not going to be something like that, but obviously, so that other people know too, yeah, it'll be a legitimate, like, you could go through a dungeon type of thing to obtain it, most likely.
Yeah, and the thing that's, it's like, I don't even think about some of those things, but then players will mention it to me, and sometimes it's really sad, because I'm thinking to myself, man, is that really the crap that somebody pulled somewhere? Because anytime a player asks me something, they're basically asking me because they got burned somewhere. So I hate to see that.
Yeah, it's going to happen, though. Like some of the old stuff I've seen, too. It's the way it happens in MMOs, sadly.
Yeah, so let's see. I think I might have covered, if I missed anybody's questions, two things. A, you can private message me here on Twitch, and I'll try to answer you later. Or you can email me at frogdice@frogdice.com. So if I missed a question, feel free to do that, or you can just message me on Kickstarter, so that'll work. So anyway, let me see if I missed any other.
There's a couple that I've seen here.
Oh, yeah.
Cujo makes question, so you're going kind of like the Guild Wars 2 model, for example, with your the free-to-play aspect and only getting cosmetic purchases?
Yeah, I mean, I won't say only, because I know that I'm certain. Like I said, we haven't decided exactly, but I know there will be useful things. You know what I mean? There will be, healing potions that you can also craft or whatever. I know we will sell useful things. So I don't want to say it's all cosmetic, but anything that's useful is also obtainable in game. Okay. And I'm not saying by outrageously Herculean feats obtainable in game. I mean reasonable, because honestly, just to get into other game, not to get too derailed, but like, we're not huge believers in massive raids where that's the only way to get the cool stuff.
Excellent.
Raid encounters are great. I love them. But when they're the only way to do things, I think that's frustrating, because not everybody likes that kind of content. And not everybody has that type of time to spend in one sitting as well. Like, we saw that a lot. I used to be a guild manager, or guild leader manager. Baseball, sorry. Anyway, but like, I used to lead a guild, and same problem. We used to have, all the people that wanted to raid and wanted to progress their characters, but we couldn't, because you could never get as many people as we needed together in one place at a time. Right. And that's where I love the idea of you can do anything you want solo, but you can also do it with friends, as you're saying. Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's just a factor of time, like, correct. It's soloing, it might take a little longer, but whatever, but that's okay. And also, kind of on that fact also, I'm a huge hater of bind on pickup as a concept. Good. I hate that concept. I think it is like an artificial time sink. I think that once games stop letting people trade items between each other, that is one of the major things that just slaughtered socialization, because part of being able to help people is to give them stuff. And when you can't give people stuff, that hurts. Yep, it hurts the economy. It hurts the people talking to each other. And you're correct. Absolutely. I've seen an absolute drop in communication between the player base nowadays on any type of MMO, because there is a lack of that now. Yeah. People need to be able to help each other. And the more ways you can let people help each other, the better. So I'm okay with some bind on equip, like maybe like there's some really cool epic quest and you get some special thing that was in the story given to you. Okay, that might be a bind on equip type thing because it was like story related, you know what I mean? But other than that, I'm not a big fan. I think, and even most items bind on equip, a lot of people get worried it's going to hurt crafting, but I was just reading recently that automobiles are the most resold item in the world.
That's a good point.
Like, they don't bind on equip. You know what I mean?
This is a really good point if you think about it. He's making a fine one here.
And part of what, and one kind of from my legal training, the right to alienate property is something that gives that property value. You know, so like you buy a house, you know, if the house costs $100,000, part of what gives it value is, you know, hey, in 5 years I can sell it for $110,000.
And that at one point it did sell for $100,000, so it does have that value.
Exactly. So, but like imagine if when you bought a house, you could never sell it. They like after you moved out, they would tear it down. You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, well, it's not worth that much to me. You know what I mean? So like I said, I'm kind of starting to go tangent. So let me catch up on a few questions.
I saw another good one here. Ford asks, or says, I should say, saw that there were pre-built as well as procedurally generated dungeons. Are you guys also thinking about letting people be able to make their own dungeons to add in?
You know, that's actually possible. I'm not exactly sure how we would do that technologically, how we would want to let people send us. That's where it gets tricky, because then you have to start worrying about people, you know, injecting stuff into your database that's harmful. At its very core, our procedural system is really cool because we can literally, as builders, we can just build a little map, just like a bunch of dots, and then the system figures out how to build the dungeon off of it. We can just like make a little ASCII map and it can convert it into a real dungeon, which is super cool. So theoretically, that would be extremely possible. I think, you know, that would probably be something like when the game's open and everything would be something we would investigate heavily. Even if we didn't let those dungeons be in the game, we might connect them to your boo at your house. So like you could have a private dungeon under your house. Beauty of the system is that wouldn't be unbalanced. It wouldn't be like you had your private like farm zone, because the way our system is designed, there's nothing wrong with that, because the random procedural places you find when you're exploring the world anyway, those are instanced to you. Now, when you find the handmade dungeons, those are open. So like you might run into other people in there, which is another thing that's missing from MMOs nowadays. Like, I mean,
I miss that. I really do.
Like, my favorite MMO is probably Dark Age of Camelot.
Yes, I love you. Yes.
Yeah.
Someone else knows it. Yes, thank you.
So yeah, I mean, and I think I never played EverQuest, but apparently it was very much like this too. You could be in a dungeon, and you would, first of all, you know what? I'm gonna back up a second, because somebody asked me how many people you could party with, and this is the perfect time for me to answer that. You can have up to 6. We wanted to have 6-person parties. First of all, what's going on with party size? Like, it was 8 for EverQuest and Dayak. Then some games, then all of a sudden WoW was 5. Then Diablo 3 comes out and it's 4. I mean, pretty soon partying is going to be you and like a pet. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
again, a completely AI generated pet that you can just create to join with.
Exactly, it's getting ridiculous. So we went with 6 because we like the idea, first of all, an even number, because then it can be 3 couples, or, you know, a lot of people play with a buddy.
Yep.
It can be 3, you know, duos work together. There's more options. You know, you can have a tank, a healer, and 4 DPS, 2 tanks, 2 healers, 2 DPS, you know, like a lot more combinations possible. But anyways,
all DPS, we've done this.
Absolutely, totally. You should be able to do that. Just not necessarily ideal. And
that was going to be my other question: is will it be feasible to even like, you know, challenge yourself and do like all healers going in at it?
Yeah, and not just that, but play a party of 5. Like, that's the other thing that I hate, is how it's like now in modern MMOs, it's either solo or full party.
Yep.
Like,
you can't go in with 8. You have to go in with 10. Or
exactly.
It's not
you have
cool.
To do the exact thing, and it's like, well, what if somebody doesn't show up? Well, then that means you got to have alternates. Well, if you have to have alternates, that means people have to sit out. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a total mess, because...
Yep, and it becomes a high school clique, basically, whereas Dark Age of Camelot, you could walk in and see somebody killing something at the same level that your character was, and then go, hey, there's stuff that nobody's touching down there that's higher level. Do you want to group up and try it? And that's all it would ever take. And you'd meet new friends that way so quick. That's how I met, like, Malatrix, who gave me my cat, for example.
Wow.
Without that, I wouldn't have Spazz.
Wow.
So that should say everything right there about how important that is to me.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite example that I give people, I played Midgard, and there's a dungeon, Spindlehala,
Yes. Yes.
and it's like you go in, you could fight the little kobolds solo.
Yep.
Then you meet somebody, and then you're fighting the snakes. And then you meet someone else, and you go a little further in, and you fight the crabs. Then you meet someone else, and you fight the like arachnid something. These like
Yeah, I don't even know what to call those things. They're like gigantic
yeah.
wannabe spiders, but they're not.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know exactly which ones you mean.
And then eventually you get a full party, and you go all the way to the bottom, and you fight the trows.
Yep, and you get the werewolves and the trows, and yep.
Exactly. Now, another thing that was cool is you'd find a good spot for your party, and you'd be fighting, but there would be other parties nearby. And if you screwed up and say you pulled too many mobs, you could yell for help, and other people might actually come and save your butt. And then you're like, thanks, man. And then you might save their butt. I mean, I'll tell you what, some of the most fun I had was we'd be just, farming, killing mobs, and we get to go save somebody. And
yep.
I mean, you really feel like a superhero because you're like...
It brings you that much more into your character. It really does, because you're like, wow, I just did something heroic. Like, wow, my character, like, I'm a big troll. I was a troll skald, by the way. So, I'm this troll skald walking around with a huge hammer just smashing all these little kobolds that are trying to kill all these other people from my realm. And, like you said, it brings that extra little bit of kind of, injection into your character even. And not just that, but the community factor in it. That disappeared after Dark Age of Camelot for me, and that's where I lost my love in MMOs, is that it didn't have that same community. Even though there were many millions of players, it didn't feel like it.
Yeah, it's like we have millions of players now, but you might as well be playing by yourself.
Exactly.
Which is weird. So
Which you can, but,
And that's okay. Yeah, exactly. Like, because we also have... after 20 years, we have tons of catchphrases that are like little mottos. Another one I really believe in is playing alone together.
Yep.
Like, I actually think that even if you're soloing, you're still benefiting from the multiplayer aspects of the game because you can chat with people, you can trade with people. Like I said, you can yell for help. I think those are totally legitimate multiplayer elements that are fun, So, and we've kind of lean close to this one. KFAJ asked, how interactive will the GMs and devs be? I would say we will be extremely active. I mean, that is just a huge part of the culture of our games, our company. Threshold, I'm on Threshold every single day. If at a minimum, chatting out of character with people, but also like I'll have some crazy idea and I'll make some barkeep in a tavern start doing stuff, and we often build up a whole network of volunteers that have the power to just kind of take over NPCs, not for any purpose other than just all of a sudden the barkeep starts talking to you. You know what I mean? Like, we
just
love
to kind of bring
you
further into the immersion.
Exactly, yeah, just for fun stuff. And then it branches up to serious stuff like invasions. Players do certain, and we love when we can to key it off of player action. Like, say the players have been just farming the living hell out of like a bunch of gobos like outside of town. Well, then we might have a gobbo invasion, or we might have a couple of gobbo invasions over a few weeks.
Nice.
And if the players raffle stomp those, we'll just take the gobbos out of that section of the world for a little while. You know what I mean? It's like, sorry, you guys crushed them too hard. They're gone.
Maybe they'll come back, but you have to not harm them. Yeah,
right.
Like make it actually interactive.
And it's not a punishment because there's plenty of other places to go, but it's kind of cool then because people can walk around and be like, yeah, this is where those gobbos used to be, but we rocked them. So
like, we changed the world, man. It does. It gives you that extra little bit of like, we did that. Yeah.
Definitely. And our players, they changed the world massively. Like in Threshold, I think we started off with 11 deities. The religion system was really big in Threshold, and players did a bunch of things, and there were like schisms within certain churches, and then we had new gods get born, and then there were like 14. And then I think another thing happened, and I think we at one point had 16.
Oh, wow.
But then there were wars and all kinds of stuff, and I think we're back down to 12 or 13 now. So, excuse me, sorry I had to cough.
No problem.
Hope I
yeah, you did. Don't worry. You're all good.
Cool. But yeah, and that's really significant because that means all of a sudden clerics, they still have their class abilities and everything, but now they don't have a church and they need to find a new religion, and then there's a whole people start scrambling to try to recruit all those people. It's a big deal when a deity is born or their religion gets crushed, and we totally let that go by players. And sometimes they really surprise us and they do things that really shock us, and we're like, well, we didn't expect that, but we're gonna roll with it.
And that's where I love the player, the community being able to actually, do something that kind of takes over the world. Not so much takes it over as in like, the creator doesn't get their say in it anymore, but kind of gets to do, a little more free reign on it. Because like I said, it gives you that extra little bit of immersion there.
Yeah. So, okay, I've missed millions of questions.
Yeah, I see
I'm
a few
sure.
too. So go ahead and find yours.
Let's see. Okay, so someone said implementing more races. Definitely. Like for few examples are, we have a cool race we really like, the Lek-Leks. They're kind of like, they're a little bit gnomish and they're a little bit kinderish, to give some comparison. And they're very much into like what's called tech, T-E-K. Basically, it's technology, kind of steampunky. Really want to make them. We have a race called the Talay. They're a little bit like elves, but they're aquatic. And they're really a big part of the world story, so we really want to get them
Nice.
implemented.
And how many do you have at the beginning again?
Let's see, we have humans, we have Trollocs, and by the way, Trollocs are very, very related to trolls from Midgard. So that's one of my favorite races I've ever played. Yeah,
I know what I'm picking
Trollocs.
already. I love those rock trolls. They were so awesome, man. They were so big and cuddly, and yet they weren't.
Exactly. Yeah, they're big and cuddly until they left you in the face.
Exactly.
Yeah,
berserkers.
So human, Trolloc, we have Lukoi, which are kind of like werewolfy type guys, catfolk, and dryads. And
Excellent.
Dryads are like, you know, naturey, really beautiful female. That one is female only. So yeah, so we've got those 5 right now, and we're starting off with just 4 classes. And some people might be like, oh my god, only 4 classes, that sucks. But we're gonna make sure those 4 classes are awesome and have all kinds of different ways to be played, so that you don't ever get stuck with a crappy class or anything like that. So we're starting off with warrior, and their primary role is tank and DPS. Elementalists, they're, you know, kind of wizards, so they do DPS, and they also have some crowd control and some utility. Healers, believe it or not, their primary role is healing.
No.
But they also do buff, and they also do CC.
Excellent.
Crowd control. Yeah, and then hunters, and they're primary DPS, but they are the main debuffing class, and then they also have utility. So
excellent.
we're gonna flesh those guys out really, really well. Classes that I would say we will probably add as soon as we can. Bards, we love our bards in Threshold. We have an alchemist guild in Threshold that we love. It has an enormous amount of lore, so we'd really like to get that implemented. So those are 2, and you know, we'll see what players want. You know, we'll definitely react to it. So
I can put in my 2 cents. As long as the bard can have a spoon as a weapon, we're good here.
Okay, yeah,
that's all I ask.
Why not? So, okay, I saw a really good question, and let me see if I miss it. Okay, someone was asking about the maximum level and how much geared towards top player levels. Okay, all right, I might blow some minds here. As it stands right now, Stash has no level cap. And I know that's like, what? How could that be? Well, the game has never been designed to be in-game focused. You know, like, I hate how games have gotten to that point where it's like, oh, level 1 to cap, that's just trash. That's just like drudgery. It's all about getting a level cap. I hate that. I think that once you focus on that, you naturally end up making everything suck. Now, we are wavering. If we don't do that, no level cap, it'll be 100.
Okay.
It'll be a 100 level cap. But I'm actually leaning really heavily towards no level cap. Threshold has no level cap.
First reaction was the best decision, so I think a lot of people are going to lean with you on this one. I'm kind of cool with that too, honestly.
Yeah, I think that I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, like, in a way, why have it? If you design a system, see, I think once you have level cap, that's what creates the gear grind, because all you do is, in a way, that's all they've done is they've said we don't want a level cap, but we don't have any more levels. Well, let's do it all through gear. Well, that kind of sucks. You know what I mean? Like, so the nice thing about levels is you can reward people constantly with XP by doing millions of different things. You know, XP is actually a wonderful currency that has been kind of given short shrift because Endgame has made XP junk. I mean, one of the reasons people hate trash mobs is because they're not worth anything. Well, they're actually worth XP technically, but you don't need any XP because you're at level cap. So, yeah, so I'm heavily leaning towards no level cap. People will be able to sidekick their friends, kind of like in City of Heroes. So, you know, if you're level 70 and your buddy doesn't play that much and he's level 25, you can sidekick him to like 1 level under you, and then all of his skills and stats are boosted commensurately.
Nice.
And the thing that's cool, because it's turn-based combat, you don't have any weird issues like sometimes in City of Heroes, I would play with my wife, and she'd have a character lower level than me, and all of a sudden we'd get too far apart, so she'd lose the sidekick, and then all these mobs would instantly be like 30 levels higher than her, and she'd get insta-killed. So the beauty of turn-based combat is that's not an issue. If you're in the same encounter, then the sidekicking is in place. So.
Excellent. Yeah, see, I missed that from Dark Age of Camelot, too, where it was like you could bring in, even if you're leveling up like a low character, well, in my case, bot 99% of the time, but if you're leveling up a low-level character, you can bring them in. They'd actually go up a couple levels to be up near you so that they could feel like they were doing something and not just, you know, sitting there if God forbid, like you said, there was that differential between the two.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of questions from people. Adversary, I don't think down. The problem with sync down, and City Heroes wrestled with this massively, is that you create weird issues with like taking away people's powers.
Yep.
Like, should you or shouldn't you? If you don't, then they're just retardedly over. Well, I shouldn't use that term. They're incredibly underpowered. You know what I mean? I mean, because they're like, all of a sudden they have foot stomp and nobody at level 10 has a foot stomp. I mean, so you're just slaughtering people.
Yep.
Or,
14 was weird like that. Final Fantasy 14, that is. Because that's what Adversary brought up, too. So as soon as that you were making mention of it, that's the first thing that came to mind is I remember when this happened to me, and I wasn't too keen on it.
Yeah, and then the problem becomes once it's so let's say that's the situation, and then it's like, well, why play if I can't have a level 100 down, like sync down and power level me? You know what I mean? So, or if you take their powers away, then the character's not fun. You know what I mean? Because you're used to having your cool powers, and you may have built specifically around some of those powers you have. So now you're crappy.
All your other stuff isn't, going to be as reactive as it would be. Like, let's say you upped your agility because you have this amazing, you know, like escape ability, but now you don't have it, and all you have is this amazing agility that does you like no good because you can't damage anything, and now you can't get away.
Right. Yeah. So it's all a mess. So exactly. So let's see. Someone asked you if dungeons scale with you. The static dungeons don't scale with you. So with no level cap, obviously we'll have to be aware of where people are and keep building dungeons as people get higher in level. But we've done that in Threshold with a tiny staff, so I'm not really too worried about us being able to do that. One thing I'm never worried about is a paucity of ideas. Like, there are people on our team that are so insanely creative, like we never run out of ideas, so I'm never afraid of that happening, so I have total confidence. So that, and then the procedural dungeons, they completely scale with your level. So when you find a random dungeon, like the way that works is you're running around the world and like you're like, hey, there's a little mine over there, like we call it a point of interest. So you walk over to it and you can go in it, and if you ignore it and walk away, it'll despawn and it'll be gone.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So and then if you because it's kind of like it just randomly has occurred. So then if you go in, then it generates based on the level of the highest level person in the party. So, you know, if that person's 27, it's going to generate enemies and bosses and stuff based on that level. And we will probably have something like a setting that you can put on your character if you want stuff to be even harder. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So then your random stuff can be extra hard if that's what you want. So let's see. We had, I know I saw one. Oh, man,
Can I start working for you is another good question.
That is a good question. Oh, there it was. With not having a level cap, will the game have penalties to XP on dying? The system we have right now is XP debt. We've used it before, and I kind of liked it. I don't like how MMOs got rid of death penalties completely, because then dying just became a teleport.
A gold sink.
Or a gold sink. Yeah. So then it's just this annoying. And then it doesn't add. The reason there's dying anyway in these games is to add tension, you know, like, so it doesn't add tension if you're not really going to lose anything except for some obnoxious gold loss. So the system we have in place right now is XP debt. So
good.
Let's say,
I love that.
Yes. Cool. So let's say you need 100,000 XP to gain a level. If you die at that level, you might, I'm not sure what our formula is. You might get 10 or 20,000 of XP debt. And the way debt works is then the next time you earn 100 XP, you gain 50 and 50 pays off debt. So you're still making progress while you're also, basically you're earning XP half as fast until the debt's paid off.
Yep, it's like a little penalty where you only get the half intake of your XP up for a little bit up until you make up for the fact that, hey, you did something dumb and face planted that enemy you shouldn't have.
Yep, exactly.
See, I miss that from Dark Age, where it's like, you know, you'd be so close to level 50 and then you'd die and be like a full bubble backwards out of the 10 that you need and just be like, oh, what have I done? And then, like, you start thinking a little bit, you know, like, okay, I can't do that again. I have to make sure that I don't take 4. I only need to get 3. Because if I get 4, I'm dead.
Yep. Exactly. So someone asked if there'll be de-leveling. No
Ooh.
de-leveling.
Thank you.
We don't do de-leveling. I'll tell you what, Threshold is hardcore. In Threshold, like, okay, the way the XP, it doesn't keep a full total of your XP. It keeps like a running total of your unspent. So like, you know, if your next level costs 12 million XP, you might be running around with like 6 million XP.
Okay.
And then as soon as you want to level, you spend the XP. So when you die in Threshold, you lose a level and all of your current XP.
Oh.
So potentially
Ow.
that's almost 2 levels. Like
Wow.
Threshold though is, I'm telling you, Threshold is not for the faint of heart. And also in Threshold at high levels, it could take you a month or two to gain a level. So when you die in Threshold, you could be back a month or 2 or 3. Threshold is no screwing around. Stash is not like that. We know that's something that people do enjoy because that's a really old school, really, you know, different experience. We're not carrying that forward to Stash, so it's just the debt. You can't de-level, you can't lose abilities, stuff like that.
The other good question about the debt there is, let's say that while you're in debt, you die again. Does it stack up more, or does it?
Yeah, it can stack.
Okay.
There'll be a max. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the max is whatever it takes to gain a level.
That makes sense.
So I believe that's the max. So basically,
that'll still scale as you're going up a little bit as well.
If it's 10%, then basically you have to die 10. It's either 10 or 20%. I can't remember exactly. So it's either 5 or 10 deaths to be capped. And there was something else about that I was going to mention, and now I forgot. But hopefully I'll remember.
See, will there be an offline mode?
No offline mode. Oh, I know what I was going to mention. I'm not sure if this is going to go in this game. It's an idea that we've had floating around, and I'll throw it out here and see what people think of it. We made a game once that had this, where the lore was that some people are blessed and some people are unblessed, and you choose whichever one you are. People that are blessed are like your standard MMO characters. You die, you resurrect, whatever. If they die, it's permanent. However, they also gain XP at 10 times as fast. You know what I mean? So
it's like legitimate, like Diablo hardcore. You die, it's done.
But what's cool is they're mixing. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's intense. So you might so it's like, I could foresee some interesting social drama where people are like, hey, let's go do this. And the unblessed are like, screw that, Mr. Blessed.
Yeah, like, you can go ahead and die. I'm not doing that until we know what we're doing. You guys go practice. I'll join you when you're done.
Right. Or you may even have parties where people will sacrifice themselves because they're blessed to save their buddies who are unblessed. So
that's an interesting little bit to have to think about there. I like that idea, honestly.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we'll do that. We might, if the game gets big enough, we might make a server and experiment with it. So yeah. Jugger, there's actual gameplay in the Kickstarter video that he showed at the beginning, and you can watch it. I think looks like Crump's just linked
I just linked it up as well. We'll show it again at the end too, so you guys
can
actually see it here too.
Yeah. Now, so there is. We're actually pretty far along. I mean, we've been.
Oh God! Wow! I didn't even look at the time. We are.
Yeah. So we've been. We're far along in our chat also, but yeah, we're pretty far along in the game. I mean, we've been designing for years, 3+ years in the design. And honestly, the last 3 games we made, part of what they were made is to build to this game. You know what I mean? Like building up, some of our art and sound assets, building up some of the lore and some of the design concepts and things like that. Like, for example, someone said they really like the crafting. Well, one of the really cool things about crafting is you can do kind of standard crafting. You have your materials, you put them in. Well, the way crafting works, sorry, I'm back up a little bit. You have your your house. If you build a stove in your house, or if you buy one, now you can cook. So that's one of the crafts. So, you get your materials and you cook stuff. And it's just, for that, really simple crafting is literally just, if you need eggs and flour, click on your oven, you make your pie, whatever you're done. And then the pie is used for out of combat healing and also to raise your stats. Okay. So that's the real simple part. Where it gets interesting is if you want to make a masterpiece pie. Now, if you want to make a masterpiece pie, when you do all that, put the stuff together, instead of it just happening, a mini game gets launched by your stove. Now,
nice.
The mini game could be a match 3, could be a Dr. Mario, like Dungeon of Elements, could be like, we've got like 20 or 30 mini games on Coin and Carry. I'll type that. It's a free-to-play online game that we have. There's like 30 mini games. A bunch of those mini games, the mechanics that we develop for those, a lot of those will become mini games in Stash. And when you make a masterpiece version, whatever score you got on that minigame is attached to that item.
Oh,
and now
wow.
you can do one of two things. You can either go ahead and use it in game, and it's better than a regular one. And how much better is based on the score. Or you can submit it to be for competitions, and you can win prizes and achievements and awards by, like, every day. It's like, okay, the best pie was, you know, Crumps made the best pie. Congratulations. You get an award. You get a little thing to display in your house.
Nice.
Stuff like that. Same thing for weapons and armor. The little mini game that makes it more awesome. So, and like I said, you can make regular stuff that's still good. Just click and done. Because some people will like, look, I don't want to mess with any stupid mini games. But if you want to make really, really awesome stuff, you can do the mini game part. So, okay. Now someone said, really important question for me. When talking about procedurally created dungeons, how much harder will a level 100 be to a level 100 compared to a 50 for a 50?
Love challenges. Challenges are more than just adding X amount of health and damage. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. I mean, as you get higher level, we definitely layer in new mechanics. You know, like bosses will have new tricks up their sleeve. You know, like they'll have more CC, more debuffs. The dungeon itself will be trickier. There might be more traps and puzzles in the dungeon. The boss encounter will be more cleverly laid out so that you have to use more strategy, or including even, you know, entering the boss room from the right direction so that you're in a better position tactically, because that's a really big part of this game. Since it's turn-based, there's a lot of positional tactics to use in the grid. So yeah, a level 100 dungeon is harder than a level 50 dungeon, not even just because of the level, but because as the game gets harder, we layer in more mechanics. So I hope that answered your question.
Excellent.
So Loigan, no, we won't do the quiz mini game. He's talking about there's a mini game in Coin and Carry that's a quiz and it's super hard, but yeah, yeah. And adversary, you're right, because yeah, if all that happens is the HP just scales up, well, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, it kind of just keeps adding the same thing and more time seeking at that point.
Yeah. Let's see. If you don't mind, what engine? We use Unity. And I think somebody asked earlier, programming, we program in C#. So to answer those two technical questions.
Excellent. And I'm scrolling back up here to see if we missed anything else. So I know we did, and now I can't remember. Okay, apparently my chat just wants to break. Never mind. Well, there goes that idea.
If anybody else has questions that have not been asked, just go ahead and fire it again.
Yep, feel free.
And I'll try to hit them as fast as I can.
On that note, really quick, I do see a special guest joined us. So this may or may not be able to lead into something else cool that you can talk about here.
Oh, okay,
Look who's joined us. That is not Michael Hartman. That is, in fact, Spazz on camera.
Hey, Spazz.
So let's see. How to even begin to let onto this one? So let's see here. They've got something kind of sort of cool that's possibly in the works here. I don't know if we'll let you kind of explain that one better, because I could, but you're going to be able to explain this so much better than I can possibly do.
Okay, cool. So we love pets. Like every single game we've ever made has pets, and we like making pets really special. Also, we love this channel. Crumps has been so awesome to us. So we've already told him that we're going to make a special, unique pet modeled after Spazz. Crumps has been sending us pictures so I can give them to our artists so they can use them to build a model. I've even tried to watch little videos so we can get animations and stuff. And I'm going to leave it up to Crumps how and who is going to get to have the pet. So I'll give him codes and he can have prizes and giveaways and all kinds of cool stuff, and it'll only be to those people that can have Spazz the pet, that they can have running around, following him around, being silly.
And look at how proud he is of this moment right now. Like, yeah, you're going to be in a video game, buddy.
He'll be immortalized.
The way we like it. But yeah, you guys are going to be able to, basically, if you do pick up the game, we'll have codes that basically I can get you a Spazz pet. So we'll figure out exactly what to do with that when the time comes, honestly. Because I know there's a few people, cough, cough, Dragonfly comes to mind, who may or may not immediately jump on that opportunity to be able to walk around with Spazz. So, but yeah, they've got a ton of pictures already. So, yeah, like, I mean, we made a little appearance in Rainmaker, if you will, where I was basically Spazz's pet. And now Spazz gets to be anybody's pet this time. Aren't you happy?
Exactly.
Aren't you happy?
So, All right, I'm gonna bang through a few more questions. How dynamic mobs be? Very dynamic, and adding new mobs definitely. Like we're gonna, I mean, Threshold is really the kind of the best example. We're constantly adding new enemies, new bosses. One of the programmers on our team, AI is his absolute favorite thing. So we're always going to add new mobs and new bosses.
Excellent.
That'll be a big thing. In battles, they'll be activating a trap you can use against enemies, definitely, and there'll be things in the terrain that you can use. It's kind of funny. I was playing that Beyond Divinity, and they were doing some cool things. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Those are some of the things we're doing too. Making things blow up, making things react elementally. So yeah, using the environment, that's an important part of turn-based combat, in my opinion. Someone asked, am I worried about using Unity? There's a massive update. No, I'm actually super excited about the updates. We actually had one of their lead engineers come to our office 2 weeks ago. He came there literally just to talk to us about all the new stuff. He showed us both Unity 4.6 and Unity 5, which isn't coming out till next year. So, you know, and we're a part of both betas. So we know a lot about what's coming in Unity, and the stuff that's coming is awesome. It's just getting better and better. So Unity is really cool with their developers, and you know, we've put out 3 games already in Unity. Stash is our 4th. So we're becoming, we may have more games out than any other developer on Unity. So, and they acknowledge that, which is really cool. So that's why they sent their engineer to come to our office.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So no, I'm not worried about Unity at all. I'm actually really excited. They're really aggressively making it better and better constantly. So let's see, major one, looking for voice actors. No, we're not looking for voice actors. We're not going to have very much voice acting, mainly for budgetary reasons. We don't have any cutscenes. That stuff is really cool, but in a way, you know, it can be extremely expensive and not add that much. We're trying to focus entirely on the gameplay. So let's see. Looking for voice actors. Sorry. Yeah, another voice actor. I feel bad.
Yeah. I was going to say, because, you know, if you need anything, too. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Let's
see. No. Someone phrased their question.
Yep, that's the one I just saw.
Oh, cool. Well, there'll be both a basic mode that skips the minigame, gives you an item with preset parameters, and advanced mode. Yes, that's exactly right. You got it 100% correctly. The basic mode will give you, yeah, like you said, a pie that might restore 50 HP, you know, give, you know, 10 points towards boosting, I don't know what pies boost, say, I think it might be intelligence or something. I don't know. I can't remember which one. Because, like, as you eat food of certain types, and it gradually increases your stats. So that makes the food kind of we love cooking, and we want food to be more meaningful. So, so yeah, so it might do 50, but if you do an incredible job crafting, it might be 100 healing for the godlike one. So, and we think that's fair. It takes more time. You know, it takes more skill, things like that. So hopefully I answered his question.
No, let's see. I'd like to make a lot of characters in MMOs, so how will cross-account characters work?
Well, what's a cross-account character?
I think basically meaning, like, first and foremost, like, how many characters can you actually wind up creating? And I'm assuming that may just be, like, maybe even doing 2 at the same time, cross-account. I'm trying to think, because, you know, like, I'm thinking, like, Dark Age of Camelot and botting and taking the other one with you. That's the way I always default to these, but that's probably not quite what he means by it.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. We haven't given. I hope nobody thinks this is lame. We've given very little thought to the maximum number of characters on your account. I'm sure we will come at some number, and I don't know what. And we'll probably have some logic for that. Like, oh, this maybe you can enough to have every class or enough to play every race or something like that. I'm not sure what that maximum will be. There'll definitely be a way to increase it. Might be cash shop, might be in-game coin, might be, you know, accomplishing things in-game, you know, might be all kinds of ways to increase it. As our plan right now, you wouldn't be able to party with one of your own characters, like from your account. So if you wanted to, you know, have a buff bot, theoretically, you would need another character, another account. But I'm not sure, because in a way in our game, that might actually be cool to be able to have 5 characters and run your own party. That might actually be a huge, you know, thing that makes the game special, because since it's turn-based, that would be a lot more viable than it would be, you know, in a real-time game. You wouldn't need... Yeah,
make it like the pseudo MMO that isn't. You can make it your own MMO type of thing.
Yeah, now, I don't know if I think that'll be something we heavily lean on the community to see what people think, because what if some people are like, yeah, but then, you know, everybody's running around with their party of characters and nobody wants to group, and you know, I'm not sure what the community will think of that. By default, where we stand now, you'll only be able to have one character logged on at a time. Obviously, instantly people are just, well, then people will just make new accounts anyway, so why does it matter? And that's a good point. Yep. So maybe then there's no point in having that limitation, because it's better just to have them all in one account. So we'll kind of have to see. I think we'll have to talk to our community a lot and really see what people think.
And then let's see, he expanded his question. Since I make a lot of characters on the same account, if I go far with one character, do I get some bonuses so that I don't have to start all over, similar to the way that, like the way the badass level in Borderlands?
Yeah, you know what?
Excuse me.
I think the answer to that is no, but I think I have a really good reason, and it's because literally playing another character is actually super fun. And that, some people might be like, oh, whatever, but I think that's the key part of the fact that we don't focus on endgame. We focus on the whole game. I totally sympathize with that thinking, because that's the way games are right now. You know, you level up to max and you're starting to have a lot of fun, and you're like, oh, you know what would be really fun? I'd love to try a mage. Oh, but I don't want to level up. That's so crappy.
They're like, oh, we need a rogue for this one encounter, so I should make one,
right.
But, oh, man.
Exactly. So I think that we probably won't have any kind of thing like that, mainly because it will literally not be needed. Like, it will be just as fun to play somebody at level 20 as it is at level 80. It's just the level 80 is more complicated because you have so many more options and so many things going on.
Yep, and so many more things that the enemies are going to counter you with.
Exactly. So, and I think that has really borne itself out in Threshold. Like, there are people that, I mean, there's this one guy in particular. He has probably had 60 characters. It's ridiculous. He's never had a hegemon. That means you've reached level 20, which is a really big deal in Threshold.
Okay.
He just makes new characters all the time. you know, and it's like I said, I know people say stuff like this, but it is really true. We don't obsess over endgame to the point that everything else sucks. So, let's see. Do you have any plans for at least making it convenient for players to report RMTs? Oh, yeah, definitely. Including the tools that a lot of MMOs don't have, which I don't understand. Like, why can't you say reject all tells from people under level 10? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
like we used to have that in, I forget what it was. I guess it was just trial accounts that couldn't message other accounts on Warcraft is what it was. But yeah, like, why isn't there something that, like, okay, don't let anybody level 1 message me. Done.
Right.
Problem solved.
And give it to the players, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know why they don't do that. But yes, definitely, there will be lots of things like that. You know, so let's see. There actually were some. We have a music system where players can make their own music. That's a tough one. There's major legal problems there, and I'm not sure what the answer to that would be. I would say at launch, no. Anything is possible, especially if we have bards. I would love to make it so they can make their own music. We have really cool systems in Threshold where people can create their own. There's no music play, but create their own like songs and poems and display them and perform them. So we really get into that kind of thing. We'll have to see what the legalities are with music. I know that Latro, Lord of the Rings, at one point you could do anything, and then they got stomped by the RAAA and had to nerf things, and so I'm not sure what that's like.
Yeah, the RAA, don't mess with them. They don't mess around. As an audio engineer, trust me on that one.
Yeah. And we're kind of too little to really take them on. So
yep.
How much will different enemies make you use different tactics? Massively. That is a huge important part of the game. Different enemies fight very differently, and so you need to use totally different tactics. Can you keep using the same tank killer DPS? No, I mean, it depends. If you're super strong, well, yeah, you can just bully your way through things. But when you're trying to really push yourself and fight hard things, no, you won't be able to use the same exact rotation. You'll need to use different types of tanking, different types of manipulating them around the battlefield. You have different elemental immunities and sensitivities. So, you know, your guy who all he does is drop fireballs is going to be kind of useless against, you know, fire elementals, stuff like that. So yeah, the tactics will change a lot based on the enemies. So let's see, will there be stat XP similar to something in Pokemon? I don't know. I haven't played Pokemon since the really early ones. I wish one of my daughters was here and then she could bang out that answer. But if this is what it's like, imagine, I'm going to use some arbitrary numbers here. Imagine your strength is 20. You might need like 1,000 points to turn it to 21. And every time you eat food that has strength on it, it'll maybe give you 10 or 20 points or something like that. So it's keeping track behind the scenes how many points you've earned towards gaining another point in that stat. But you can max out all your stats. If you eat enough food, you could be maxed in all your stats. So I'm not sure if Pokemon's like that. I know there's weird things where people have to like do tricky things with their Pokemon to get max stats, and you don't have to do anything like that. Nice. So heavy mod support, aren't you worried? There's no mod support. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's not really any mod support, so I must have said something that was confusing. So yeah, no mod support. Specifically why you say that, because of hackers, exploiters.
Yeah, it's the way it always winds up happening. Oh, here's another good one. Will Stash have daily quests a la World of Warcraft and other MMOs?
Probably not. I'm not a big... I wrote an article. I linked it on the Stash discussions. I'm not a big fan of quests. I think that quests were a cool concept when it was like there were a few really awesome quests, and when you did them, it had a really awesome story, and you were totally into it, and you might do a little bit one day and a little bit another day and whatever. That's when quests were great. When they were just a freaking checkbox grocery list, I think they started to suck.
Yep.
And I hate dailies. I feel like that's just like the honey. If people are familiar with this term, your honey-do list.
Yep.
That's like when your wife is
honey,
like, "Honey,
do this."
Yeah. I don't like the honey-do list in real life. I don't get the honey-do list, so I'm fortunate. My wife's awesome. I hate dailies. I hate quests.
Amen. Like, I don't mind quests, but like you said, they haven't had the same effect really. Like when it with Warcraft, for example, I started off reading them, and about maybe 10 levels in, it just turned into, okay, read the checkbox, kill 5 of these. Where are they on the map? Done. Go there. Yeah, and that's all it was.
It quickly degenerates into total pointlessness. So here's the way our content basically works. Currently, every zone has an outpost. The outpost has the NPCs like vendors and trainers and mailbox and all that kind of stuff. And also there's like a taskmaster NPC, and you can go to the taskmaster and say, hey, anything, you guys need anything? And he might say, oh, there's dorks are a problem here, bring me 20 dork heads, or really basic stuff. You know what I mean? Like nothing like, and then it might be 100. It might be so many that you're like, okay, cool, I grab that task and eventually I'll have 100 of those. But the reward is not huge. So it's not like if you're not playing with those tasks, you're nerfed. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's just some people like to have a little direction. They want a little bit of structure. So we have the tasks there because for the people who like a little bit of structure, like I want to be doing something that I'm kind of has that, purpose. But if you never did a single task, you wouldn't be significantly disadvantaged. Mainly it really is. You go around and find dungeons. You explore them, you kill the monsters in there, you deal with any little puzzles and tricks. If you find a boss, you get the boss's loot. You didn't need a quest. I hate that in MMOs where you're exploring the world and you're like, wow, Graknag, the giant ogre, how cool. And you're like, oh wait, I don't have a quest to kill this guy. So if I kill him, he's gonna have, a torch.
Yeah, and like 10 gold on him, which will do me no good in the long run. Like, it helps, but I'd much rather have that epic hammer that guarantees to drop if you have, if you're on stage 7 of this epic long quest that, Warcraft has you going out and taxiing things around or whatever.
Right. Absolutely despise all that. I don't think it's fun. I think it's miserable. So it's really just exploring the dungeon, clearing it out, getting to the boss, and taking out the boss, and you get loot along the way. You get loot from the boss. It's not that complicated in that way. There's not this really strict way, this one path to getting the stuff you want. There is a totally the world is wide open. I don't want to say open and then people think it's like GTA or something. World is there. You explore, you fight. The whole time you play, you'll be earning XP. You'll be earning triads, that's currency, and you'll be finding items. And those items can be either used or broken down into materials and then turned into the stuff that you want to use. So it's really pretty straightforward. And what I like about that is you never have to be playing and worrying, am I doing the right thing? I hate that. I want to if I'm having fun, I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not having fun, find something else in the game to do. But as long as you're having fun, you are doing the right thing. You're not like, oh, I should have had because that's also sucks when you do a dungeon and then you find out, oh, I should have had 3 quests. Oh, I should have been at stage 12 of these quests. Or, oh, hey, buddy, you want to party? Oh, no, I'm on this quest. You're on that quest. Well, catch up to me and maybe we can party. And that never happens.
Yep, or like they aren't allowed to go back into the, you know,
Right.
the one part of the instance for phase 3 that, you know, they're on phase 6 now. And why would you go back to phase 3? That guy's already dead.
Exactly. So, yeah, so I don't like any of that stuff. I think that's games have gone in the wrong direction. And it's killed the feeling of the world. Like, the world has become meaningless. Like, people don't look at the world. They don't have any sense of wonder. Like, oh, cool, this is here and that's here. Because they have to focus on these other, like, extrinsic goals that are not the fun. Like, the goal of our game is the fun. Anything that impedes the fun is the enemy of our game.
Yep.
So, you know, so yeah, I hate that stuff. And I also hate when you're only allowed to advance so much per day. And that's something that came out of dailies also. And I haven't played Hearthstone, but I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, after an hour of playing Hearthstone, they might as well stop because they can't progress or whatever. Like, to me, that's miserable. Like, some people can play every day. That's wonderful. But some people can only play on the weekend. Some people can only play Wednesday nights. You know what I mean? Like, but if they want to play for 10 hours on Wednesday, why should they not be able to make just as much progress?
Exactly. Why should they not have the same benefit that everybody else does just because they have a different life schedule? That's always come across unfair. And like you said, Hearthstone did the same thing to me, and it drew me off of that game immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said, isn't max stats equal to max level? Your max stat is just like your level. Like, so there are racial benefits, there are small racial perks, like I think Trollocs like +2 strength or something like that. So at level 10, you can have every stat is 10 plus or minus your racial. So like human, just straight up 10. Like at level 10, all your stats can be 10. At level 27, all your stats can be 27. So when I say max stats, I mean max for that level. As soon as you gain a level, then every stat can go up.
Gotcha.
So, let's see. Someone said, aren't you worried you won't hit your goal on Kickstarter? Yes. Definitely worried because our other goals were lower. Very worried. But, I mean, this is a really badass game, you know? I mean, if we had set our goal lower, I think that would have been a bad idea for one of two. I mean,
it would have been shooting yourself in the foot, honestly.
I mean, the game is mostly funded by our company. You know what I mean? Like, the Kickstarter is definitely a huge help in paying for this game's development, but that's only a quarter or less of the budget of the whole game.
Yep.
You know, the majority of this game is paid for by, you know, what we've earned from making other games. So, but if we set it lower, it's kind of not fair to us and the budget. And also I felt like it sent a message, like, this is a really badass game. This is not, you know, a cute small game like Dungeon of Elements or Rainmaker or whatever that, you know, 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 hours if you love it, maybe more if you really love it, but you get your fun out of it and you're done. No, this is like Threshold as far as like this game, you'll be able to play this game for 10 or 20 years like Threshold. So, and I know that's kind of a big promise, but I really believe that. And so we did set the goal higher. And we really hope that, you know, we can get the traction, get some publicity out there, get some media, that we can make the goal happen. So anyway, yeah, let's see.
And that's where we're trying to come in. Yeah, Game Face just asked, so like with the racial modifiers, basically humans are a flat 100% on everything, but dwarves would get like 150% strength, but only half the intelligence or something, for example.
And it would be really way more subtle than that. The racial modifiers would really only be felt at low levels, because like, I don't think any of them have more than a +or-2. So at level, and also everybody's maximum is 10, or whichever is higher, 10 or their level. So like your first 10, in fact, actually everyone starts at 10. Your first 10 levels, you don't even have to worry about stats because you're already super maxed out. Like a human starts with 10 in every stat. So from level 1 to 10, you don't have to do anything. Then once you're level 10, and that's kind of like what I was saying before, we like to layer difficulty. So for your first 10 levels, you don't even think about stats, you know, then you think about stats. Then after another point, you think about some other stuff. You know, your first 20 levels, you might not have to worry about crowd control. So stuff like that. So level 10, so maybe the Trolloc can have 12 strength and the human has 10. Well, that's 20% higher. But by level 100, you know, the human has 100
higher.
It's 2%.
Yep.
So the racial modifier is pretty subtle. over
At the
time.
beginning, obviously, yes, there's a difference, and
Yeah.
that's the way it's always going to be. But then by the end, the difference becomes your classes, and
Exactly.
yes, the combination of within the race, because there is a little bit more strength on the warrior, for example, if you're a dwarf or something. Or a troll in this case, but
Right. Right.
sorry, I kind of forgot you know dwarves in there. It's trolls. I'm screwing this up already.
That's all right.
You'd think I know this Midgard. I mean, come on, Midgard for life here. Sorry, Dark Age of Camelot for anyone that wasn't
Yeah.
here. But I mean, it's at the very beginning. Yes, it's noticeable. That's always the way in the beginning of stuff like this, though, when it works out, and then by the end, it just hammers out to how you play and what how everything comes together more so than just those stats.
Right, and and gear is a factor, and buffs are a factor. So
Big time.
the basic system is you can have your stats are your stats, which can be up to your level, and then you can have buffs can give you up to another 25%, and gear can give you up to another 20. Oh, wait, hold on a second. No, buffs give you another 50%, and gear can give you another 50%. Hope I have that right.
Okay.
So basically, if you're level 50, you can have 50 in every stat. But if you're fully buffed and have great gear, it's either 75 or 100. I'm forgetting now which one it is. But so basically, buffs and gear are both a really big thing.
Technically, then it would get up to 112 and a half.
So yeah, something like that. So yeah, so they're a really big part of the game. But as you notice, your character, no matter which one I have correct, either it's 25 each or 50 each, your character itself is always half your power.
Okay.
I think that's really important because MMOs nowadays it's like you take your gear off and you're the 98-pound weakling getting the sand kicked in your face. Whereas I like more the model of like that movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, when Chow Yun-Fat totally schools even though the girl has the jade dragon sword that's so awesome, doesn't matter. He just rips a twig off the tree and he owns her. So we like to have a little bit of that where like even if you're like some level 100 warrior and you pick up a wooden sword, you can still go to town. Sure, it's better to have, Scather, the long sword of beheading, but your character power is still.
But you can still do it with Spazz's broken claw that you found on the ground, the item.
Or your little spoon. Or for example, here's a perfect example of that. There's a character. This is a really kind of a hopefully funny story. There's a cleric in Threshold. Her name's Diacoria, and she's pretty hard, and she's pretty hardcore. And she was fishing, and the fishing system in Threshold is a big deal. So she's fishing, and she has a fish on the line. Now, as a quirk of the code, you wield the fishing rod to use it. Now, if you unwield it, that breaks your line. So as long as you keep it wielded, the line won't break. And she had a fish on the line, and some thief robbed her. Some thief, right? So she caught him, and she didn't want to lose her fish, so she fatigued him so he couldn't get away, and she PK'd him with her fishing rod. You know what I mean? She just wailed on him with the fishing rod until the guy was dead.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
But yeah, but that's a perfect example. She was strong enough that she could. She's also using spells, but
right, but
she
even
was strong
so,
enough, yeah. So she wailed on him with the fishing rod because she didn't want to lose her fish. Whereas in a modern MMO, that wouldn't be possible because the fishing rod would be doing no damage. But yeah. So,
let alone that it would also break the fishing the fishing action, I should say, at the same time, because now you're not just sitting still and doing the one, action and whatnot. So it would do this. It would do two bad things to you at the same point in that aspect. That's so beautiful, though.
So yeah. Anyway, all right, cool. Did I miss anybody else's? How we doing? I know we're over now, but.
Oh, that's completely up to you. I'm in no rush, honestly. So that's up to you when you want to get back. I think that's all the questions I've seen.
Cool. Well, yeah, if I missed anybody, a couple of things. If I missed anybody's question, if you didn't like my answer or I didn't answer it fully, or if you felt I didn't take a question seriously or anything like that, please either message me on Twitch, message me on Kickstarter, or I'll put the email address here, frogdice.com, or Twitter. Yeah, anything you want.
And Muckbeast on Twitter, I just put that in chat. It's MUCKBEAST.
Yeah, I'm a total huge nerd, so I'm pretty much always contactable. And kind of getting to someone's point, I love talking to players. That's why when I leave this chat, I'm going to a restaurant to go hang out with a bunch of our players who are here in town. I love hanging out with our players. I love talking to them. I love being a part of the community. This might sound kind of cheesy, but the reason I do this job is get such a great feeling of knowing I'm bringing happiness to people. Like when I know there's people playing our game and having fun, it makes me feel like I've had a positive impact on the world. Like I said, I know this sounds a little touchy-feely, but I mean, that's what makes me excited every day to do my job. Just knowing that, hey, I'm making people happy. I'm not curing cancer, but I'm bringing happiness, and that's what I love. And that's why I was a lawyer before I did this. It's like a total career, total change.
Like A to Z on that one.
Yeah, and I hated that. That's what I hated. I hated the fact. But even when I was a lawyer, I mostly did very businessy stuff to help people. But yeah, I hated how it was always adversarial and someone's always getting crushed. I really like bringing happiness to people. I love interacting with the players. I mean, that's really the reason I do this. There are far easier jobs I could be doing, and sometimes my wife is like, honey, maybe you should think about that. But no, I'm just kidding, because she works for us too. She's actually our lead designer. So
I was gonna say, I knew that for a fact, that she was always working with it.
Yeah, so but anyway, yeah, that's why I do this, and I love interacting with players. So let's see real quick, like, do I have to be a hero? Can I go into a keep of good guy mobs? No, you totally don't have to be a hero. And we will definitely have dungeons where, because when I say dungeons also, it's not always dungeons. It could be a tower, it could be a keep, it could be a temple, it could be, you know, any of those things. So yeah, there will be, I mean, let's put it this way, in Threshold, for perfect example, there's one of the first towns right outside of the city is Kelnor, and there's little kids running around. We probably wouldn't have this in Stash because this is such a hot issue now, but like, bad guys can go in there and slaughter the kids, you know? I mean, it's horrible. It has generated an enormous amount of roleplay, though, because other players have taken it upon themselves to just go into Kelnor and just patrol the city. And if they catch anybody trying to mess with the kids, they stomp them. But yeah, so like I said, Threshold is super hardcore. We're not totally emulating that, but yeah, there will be temples where it's nice guys walking around and there's some high priest, and most people probably won't clear out that temple because it is good guys and stuff like that. But if you wanted to be bad, you could just go in there and slaughter the people praying and slaughter the priests, and especially if it's a religion you don't like, because there's five in this game. There's 5 religions, so there's a lot of that. And then, you know, I better hit this quick. The clan system, I haven't talked about it at all. The clan system is hugely important. It's optional. Every feature I've talked about basically is pretty much optional. Like, it's really cool and adds depth, but if you don't like it, you can pretty safely ignore it. You can join a clan with your allies. Clans can earn honor in tons of different ways, competing in, you know, going to war, taking over outposts and ruling them. They can all earn honor. You use honor to level up your clan. When you level up your clan, you get more options. You get unlock abilities for everybody in your clan. You unlock buffs for your clan. You unlock all kinds of cool stuff like that. So leveling up your clan is a big deal. You can get storage for your clan to store items, and that can be leveled up and expanded.
Nice.
One of the coolest things about two cool things about clans. One, just PvP and, you know, fighting other clans and stuff like that. But 2, the big one is taking over outposts. Like I said, every region in the game has an outpost. Now, a clan could come in. The most basic way to take over an outpost is just slaughter all the guards and the leader, and then you take it over. Now, once you take it over, now you make rules for that outpost. You can determine how many hours a day the various vendors are open. You can determine, you know, you have some range of how well they sell. You know, like whether they like a 10 plus 10 minus 10, so you can slightly increase how well they convert items into coin, things like that. Whether or not you have transportation services and how many different cities you link to, all those things. Now the coffers and the number one way. But now that might, some people might be like, oh no, but then they can totally grief us and it can suck. Well, 2 things. One, you can always go back to the main capital city and have access to all the services, so you're never like really locked out. Okay. So that's the first thing. And because it's a tile-based world, it's actually pretty easy to get around, to move around. So it's not that hard. You're not hosed if someone has done that. But what creates a counterbalance is, when you're playing the game and you kill stuff, there's all the loot you get, but there's also junk. We literally call it junk. And one of your 10 bag slots is your junk trunk. Okay. And junk is like what people would call vendor trash. You know what I mean? Like all the vendor trash, like, you know, your random stuff that has no other purpose.
Yeah, your little topaz that you picked up. Yeah,
exactly. Broken sword handle, all that junk.
Yep.
Goes in your junk trunk. Now, whenever you
name.
junk normally is just vendor trash and you're done. No, junk is actually very valuable.
Ooh.
Wherever you go, whatever town outpost you go to, there's a place where you can get rid of your junk. That junk is like fuel for that town.
Okay.
However much junk has been converted at that town, that it keeps track. So if that city has 1,100 units of junk, that's what they use, because basically the story in the game is like they're melting it down and they're using it and they're making things and they're melting it down and then minting.
Yeah, creating all the stuff that
crap.
you want to make or that you want to buy with it.
Exactly. So. Okay. So the people that run the outpost, they want to attract adventurers because adventurers bring them junk. If they run such a crappy outpost that nobody wants to play in that area, well, they're going to run out of junk, and then the town's going to shut down, and eventually guards will roll in and take it back over from them.
Huh, nice.
So,
okay.
So it's self-regulating. So you want to run your outpost well enough that people will go there to process junk, but but I'll say this, like someone said, what if you want to be a bad guy? You could be a bad guy and you could run a really crappy place and have no junk, and those guards may roll in and you might destroy those guards, and it's going to be painful because guards are going to be rolling in all the time, but that might be really fun to see, hey, could we run the suckiest outpost and hold control?
And would they gain anything out of that other than really, like you said, I don't want to call that griefing other people necessarily. It could be seen as such, but
yeah, I think
not
in that
necessarily. But
they would probably be gaining the notoriety. Like, man, those guys, they kept.
We got to make sure they can't have this, and then we got to go in and take it if they take over one of the outposts. Because look what happened last month.
Exactly. So there is a thing you can't, and like I said, the grief element is pretty limited because it's not that hard to go to the next outpost or to go to the other city or adventure other places. Like I said, because of the procedurally generated dungeons, there is infinite content. You'll never run out of places to go or adventure. So the inconvenience level is minimal. It's going to be far more inconvenient to them because they're going to have to deal with those constant assaults and stuff like that. But it's just another way to play. And while we do take griefing seriously, if you try to make your game so nobody can ever negatively impact each other, eventually you also make it so people can't positively impact each other.
Yep.
I think in a real social structure, you have to let people have the flexibility where they can be a jerk, because then that makes the people that aren't jerks really stand out.
And band together.
Absolutely. I think what we expect will happen, some people will run awesome outposts. They'll have clan members always there helping, like, hey, did your party get wiped and you need help getting out of some tricky dungeon? We'll come help. You know what I mean? Like, all that run really good ones. And then some people will be jerks, but most of the jerks will, the system in place will make it hard for them to maintain control. So, let's see, real quick, I'll run through a few more, and then I really should go before my wife is like, why weren't you here at dinner?
Were you coming back for me?
I know. No, she has a ride. So far.
Okay, good.
Is the world endless? No, the world's not endless. We have a world map. It's the same actual world map that you see in Rainmaker. It's huge. It's like 1 million rooms or something like that. But that is though technically not the entire globe. So we could build more. So it wouldn't be that difficult. So is there a more centralized environment? Yeah, Askegard is the main capital city. Everything will be kind of based out of there, so we'll keep people together. As the community grows, we'll open up the other 2 continents, and they each have a capital city, and then people can space out more if they want, or they can start in those if they want. But we want to keep people together so there can be a lot of interaction. And will there be more diverse? Oh yeah, we've got everything. We have something like 60 different biomes. So yeah, the amount of environmental variety is pretty tremendous. Personally, in MMOs, I love desert zones and I love snow zones. I don't know why, I just love those 2 things. So yeah, we have a lot of terrain variety, just because it's fun.
Very cool.
So let's see, how long would it be to make the game, like an approximate time frame? The alpha is going to be in December. I think people at $50 and up tier have alpha access. The beta will be in March, and that is everybody who's $15 and up. And then the launch, we're planning for next summer. So hope that answers that.
Damn, that's not that long at all, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, though, we've been working on it 6
Well, yeah,
months
for what I was
already.
gonna say, for a couple months, if not
So-
longer than that now.
By the time it fully launches, we will have been working on it for a year and a half.
Okay.
But we will have had a few years of development and design before that. And we've made decisions to make that viable. Like the fact that the world is tile-based rather than 3D. You
Yep.
know, that saves us an incredible amount of time. And like I said, not only does it save us, but it also kind of gains us. It gives us that tabletop miniature feel. No, you won't keep alpha and beta characters will almost definitely be wiped. But we will keep track of accomplishments and things, and we'll definitely give some kind of perk, like, hey, you reached this level in alpha, you get this little perk, you reach this. But we definitely want people to start fresh for the sake of the community. So,
Like, yeah, they'll understand what all's going on, but at the same point, like, those can just be kind of like the mentors more so than like the
Right.
level 50, people walking through with all this epic gear day 1, hour 1 going,
Right.
hey, haha, want to fight?
yes, exactly.
Because it will happen.
And PvP, I should hit that. The PvP, one thing I really think the PvP is going to be super cool. Whenever you either a duel, which is just 2 people first of all, PvP is optional. You can't just run into somebody and PvP them. So it's consensual and optional. The motivation for it would be for clans. There's honor up for grabs, so that's a big motivation. We'll also have like ladders so people can compete.
Ooh.
The ladders will be tiered by level. Especially if we have the infinite level cap.
Yeah, good point. Kind of forgot about that.
Exactly. So, and whenever you, either whether it's a duel or a match-made battle or whatever, whenever you go into a PvP battle, the game takes a snapshot of your character, your exact stats and gear and everything like that. Now, you can agree, especially in a duel, this is a big thing, you can agree to all kinds of times for how long people have for a turn. The default is 30 seconds, but you can have a buddy and you're like, hey, let's put it to 24 hours. So everybody has 24 hours to play their turn. Now, like I said, it's making a snapshot. You can now go run around the world. You can level up, you can get new gear, you can do whatever you want. But every time it's your turn and you pop into that PvP battle, you're playing with that snapshot version of your character.
Excellent.
Now, any rewards you earn go to your real character, like the real version, like any kind of XP or honor goes to your real character. But within the PvP battle, you're playing that snapshot. So theoretically, you could have 10 PvP battles going on at the same time, and you pop around and fill out this and fill out that. And react to that and react to this, and whatever you could have. I jokingly call it PvP with friends, like word with friends. You could have multiple ones going. So I think that's going to be really cool. And
Heck yeah.
And then so Jingles asked, can I still play if I don't want to fight things and only craft? There's not really. You would have to fight enough to make enough money to at least kind of get your house going, and get a few crafting devices built, or you could just have one character fund another character. But yeah, once you have a house and once you have some crafting machines, theoretically you could never fight again. You could just craft, and you could have people bring you materials, or you could buy materials off the market, and you could make stuff and you could sell them, especially if you got really good at the mini games. We think it'll be totally viable that someone could play hate combat, have some either earn money some way to get started, and then start crafting and playing the mini games and making awesome stuff, and totally just play it that way. Or you could never craft, you could never build a house, you could not care about your house, you could just run around slaughtering stuff. It really is just how you want to play.
Excellent. I was gonna say, because I know a few people that like Malatrix comes to mind, for example. Like, she crafted all the damn time in Dark Age of Camelot, and we drag her out to heal for us and whatnot too. But at the same point, not that she didn't like combat, but same thing. Like, she would always be just chilling out, doing whatever else she was doing in real life and crafting. So it made the most sense.
Exactly. So, all right, I better go. I haven't gotten a phone call yet.
Yeah, but
Dinner
soon.
starts at 8:30, so I'm already 5 minutes over. It's only like 5 minutes away, though.
I was gonna say, hopefully you're close to it, because you're already late, sir.
Yeah, I'm already late. But this chat was super awesome, and Crumps, as always, you're so amazing to us. I can't even begin to thank you so much, and I really
dude,
love.
It's my pleasure. And
your community, I'm not sucking. It's gonna sound like I'm sucking up, but I promise I'm not.
I'll suck right up.
It's a great community. Although I am disappointed, nobody came by and asked when you're gonna play MLB.
I know, we were taking bets on this too, and he had the bets on 35, and I was somewhere up around about 40, give or take. And yeah, there it is. There it is. He's in trouble.
Honey, we're wrapping up right now, and then I'm coming. What, honey? I know. I'm leaving right now. Sorry, honey. Okay, bye-bye.
He's in trouble. We're going to let him get going here, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Like I said, just send me any other questions you have. And yeah, seriously, if you think the game looks cool, really, we need your support. Because someone asked, like, are you worried about the goal? Yeah, I am. It's only going to work if we get people helping us. So, yeah, definitely, if you think it looks cool, definitely jump on board and back us. And I promise you, we will not let you down.
Indeed. No, these guys, like I said, have made nothing but absolutely great games. They're freaking phenomenal to me. So definitely, if you can give them any sort of support that you can, it would go a long way. It always does for stuff like this. Even if it's $1, it adds up very fast. It's going to be well worth your time. If you heard all that stuff, like this brings back a lot of Dark Age of Camelot to me. So yes, I'm going to be hitting this hard when he's alphaing it, hopefully. So, oh please.
Yep. All right. I better run before I get in serious trouble. Crumbs,
yep.
I will talk to you soon, sir. And thank you, everybody.
My pleasure. Thank you very much again. Take care, Michael. Make sure that doesn't show anything weird. There we go. Okay, cool. Sorry that you had to hear the Skype noise there, but let's show this video one more time so that you guys can get a little bit of a video overview of what's going on in case you joined in a little bit late with us here. And again, that was Michael Hartman of Frogdice. You saw that on the screen anyways, but hit him up on the Kickstarter. We'll get the link up in chat. It already is there. Frogdice has got it for you. Thank you very much, man. And again, thank you for joining us. That was really, really cool. This is basically going to be the third game for me that I'm doing the same on, Beethoven. But here comes the video one more time so you guys get a little bit of an explanation of what's going on here. Enjoy this. I'll be right back in like 3 minutes with it.
Hi, Kickstarter. I'm Michael Hartman, president of Frogdice, an indie studio making games for 20 years. I wanted to take a moment to thank the Kickstarter community for funding and enjoying our last 2 games, which were completed and delivered on time. Now I'd like to show you our online multiplayer RPG, Stash. First thing you do is create a character. Choose a race and gender, and then use the massive customization options to get just the right look. The world map has a tabletop gaming feel. Your customizable miniature moves around the map until an encounter or a point of interest like this cave. Some dungeons are handcrafted with unique stories and lore. Combat is turn-based using a tactical grid. With tons of cool abilities and spells, no 2 battles will be the same. We also have procedurally generated dungeons that you find randomly while exploring. The maps, enemies, and bosses are random and provide infinite content variety. Is there loot? Oh yes, there is tons of loot. And every dungeon has a final boss with even more loot. In Stash, there is no loot left behind. Every character gets to own a place in the world. Your base of operations starts off as a lowly bedroll, but can be upgraded and improved over time.
Yeah, that's right, your boo.
You could eventually have a massive castle. You can customize and decorate inside and out with an enormous variety of stuff. You can even build things that unlock crafting options or just fun things to play with. If you find or craft something cool, you can put it on the market and advertise in the paper. Stash is a multiplayer game in a persistent world. You can play solo, but it is dangerous to go alone. Take friends. You can create a clan with your allies and compete against other clans for dominance. Engage in optional solo or group PvP, and be part of the story that unfolds based on the actions of our players. There is so much more in Stash. We've barely scratched the surface. Our team is incredibly excited to make this game. Please back our campaign to help us make this amazing game and build a great community. Thank you.
And again, thank you to Frogdice for joining us on that, and hopefully you guys are interested in this as much as I am, because, yeah, I'm more than slightly interested in that. I got to be real honest with you. On that note, though, we're going to switch this all back over here. So, which I shouldn't have done that early, but hey, whatever, too late now.